Hello again, this is Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation. In early November, I ran across an article in the Boston Globe about a collaboration between the Boston hip-hop group STL GLD and the Boston Symphony Orchestra. The headline alone caught my interest. The BSO is collaborating with a hip-hop artist. I was so interested. I watched a music video that they put together and it blew my mind. The song itself, With Me, from STL GLD's 2019 album, The New Normal, is an amazing piece, made even more incredible by adding talent from some BSO musicians. This project, called Us, A Celebration of Community, was a great idea imagined by hip-hop artist and former guest on ATB, Mr. Moe Pope, who felt that a collaboration with the Boston Symphony Orchestra would be a great way for the BSO to reach out to the hip-hop community. The BSO was all in, and they decided to bring together these two entities as well as other artists, and I quote, to explore synergy between artists of different genres in pursuit of a new and inclusive artistic vocabulary. In light of the COVID shutdown, they had to rethink the project. Instead of the live performances they envisioned, they introduced a series of Zoom conversations hosted by STL GLD member Timothy Hall that would bring together musicians from STL GLD and the BSO to talk music, influences, and other topics. These are available for free at stlgld.bso.org. That's stlgld.bso.org. I was able to pull in sax player and Berklee College of Music professor Timothy Hall, as well as French horn player and the first female member of the BSO brass section in its history, as well as New England Conservatory faculty member Rachel Childers, to talk about the project and what they hope will continue to be a great Boston collaboration. So here is my conversation with Timothy Hall and Rachel Childers, recorded virtually in Boston, Massachusetts. Well, thank you both for joining. I'm psyched to be able to do this. You know, when I saw the article, I can't remember if I saw the article in the Globe first or if I saw something that Mo and Tim, you guys had posted on the STL GLD Facebook page or something. I love the idea. And I actually went in and I watched the With Me recording. And then listened to some of the conversations you guys have had. And I'm like, I got to do this. So we actually almost were able to get, I was talking to Matthew at the BSO. He talked about getting Thomas Wilkins on, who looks amazing, like an amazing guy. But apparently he's in high demand. So he's a little harder to get in touch with. So are you both local right now? Mm-hmm. All right, good. So we're nice and safe here in our little COVID domes, I hope. Mm-hmm. You guys hanging in there? How's everything going?
Well, my life looks like a little bit kind of normal right now. I just got home from doing a Pops recording. They have the decorations up, and so they're recording concerts, I think, just broadcasting next month. So like early November is when we're doing Pops. Just had a whole bunch of Pops music, which was so great. Holiday Pops, man. It's like 45 shows, and you see the kids, and they're all like excited. It's like, makes everybody happy. Most amazing thing.
Yeah, we need that. Tim, how about you? How you been?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a up and down road with just emotional roller coaster of events and having to respond and react to everything that is happening in our country and abroad. For me, a lot of my work right now is as a faculty member in teaching and working with my students, and many of them are also feeling the Zoom fatigue and balancing life at home and trying to stay on top of classes and homework and everything. And many students, they're not just at home taking classes. They might be helping out with their family, have a couple of jobs and so forth. So it's just a very different space for them. And then I'm also navigating and balancing that while also trying to keep up with my own grading and so forth. And for music, it's a tough place because there's these cool opportunities to engage in the virtual space. And it's still, us not being in front of a group of people or not being on a stage. It's just, there's still a slight miss there. So I find that I'm really appreciating some of the space and some of the time to relax a little bit, while also really, really, really missing being in front of people and the different things that we had on the table before COVID. just looking forward to getting back to some of those things too.
And I think in many ways we're all very fortunate to be able to see and understand how lucky we were to have music. I keep on saying this in almost every episode now. I think once this is all over, once the COVID at least is all over, I think there's going to be a renaissance in Boston. There's going to be people who are dying to go out to see music. If I've heard anything, it's people saying, God, I miss music. I miss going to live concerts. They got to go out and see some live music. They're dying for some connection in that way. So other than the article and listening to that amazing version of With Me, I love the whole idea of hip hop and Still Gold getting together with the BSO. Now, I read a little bit about it, but maybe, Tim, you can talk about the beginnings of this. I know Mo is the one who kind of poked the bear to get the BSO engaged with the hip hop community.
Yeah. Mo thought of this and pitched this to the BSO. He's always thinking of creative ideas. He's wanting to find another way for us to do the thing that we love, which is art, and to make art and to create, but do it in a way that has a message that means something that's also bigger than the art. And I think the opportunity to engage and create a conversation with the BSO around why this collaboration would be important, particularly for individuals who historically don't see themselves as being welcomed into spaces like orchestra halls and symphony halls and opera halls and so forth. Like that space is something that little Black boys and Black girls like myself, it wasn't a norm for me to think about that until I actually engaged with art. Until art was introduced into my life, that's when spaces like that were at least visible. But then the next opportunity to then see myself as a performer, as an artist, as somebody that belongs. I think that this collaboration is stirring that conversation and creating that opportunity at the local scene. And I think that's the other important aspect, that this collaboration is happening with local artists. It's not a big name hip hop artist or hip hop act that, has national acclaim and commercial success. And not that's not where we're trying to get to.
Sure.
But I think the conversation starting at a local level makes it, I think, that much more important and that much more special.
Rachel, when was the first time you heard about these sessions and how were you approached by it?
Part of my role in orchestras, I'm on the education committee. So I have my hands in a lot of like the stuff that we do with school kids and tiny kids, big kids, adults. And so I remember being asked to come to a meeting because we had done this Jamaica Plain project where the orchestra put a lot of interest in Jamaica Plain, a lot of concerts where, we did some Franklin Park, and heard about Mo, who was going to come in and talk to us about a potential collaboration. He and Janos came in, and they were like, how do we do this? We are interested in this conversation, in this like intermingling of people who are interested in the same thing. They're interested in like live music and connecting with people and educating young people. Like, how can we bring these together? And BSO is like, yeah, how does this work? What are we going to do? And so it's been a long process, which is, I think, tricky. The BSO is like this big kind of behemoth, and we do things slowly. We like think about things for a long time and we kind of chew them over. And so Tim, was like this winter when you all came to, there was like a rehearsal we were going to do with the instrumentation that was going to be available to all of the curated groups that Will had together for this concert. And all of the artists were there, and they were hearing us rehearse, and we were having conversations, and it was like the starting point for what was going to be fun.
It was pre-COVID. It was like we were like, yo, I can't wait to start talking about this. And it was definitely fun.
It was like heartbreaking that was like we had reached like the really cool stage, and then it just didn't happen. And the concert we were supposed to do got canceled, and so artistically we don't know what the product would have been. Like, everyone hopes it would have been really cool, and like the video, the With Me, was just amazing. I watched it like on loop, and that's what could have been. I don't know. I'm excited for like whenever things go back to normal that we can like still like move forward on that track. But like, we were all really excited, and I think Mo speaks so eloquently about. He doesn't seem like he's in it. Like this collaboration wasn't about him, and it wasn't really about the band like trying to like connect those two big things. It was about what would happen in the audience and what would the repercussions be for people who like saw a concert like this. That's what he was like so interested in, and I think that speaks to everybody wants that. That what
Yeah.
could have been is really exciting.
The interesting thing about also rolling with what COVID has brought us is that it's made, I mean, the conversations that are part of the Sessions project, I don't know if that would have happened if we were just able to go straight into the show. Like I don't know what other things would have come out of the show besides that. And I think having these conversations has amplified, I think the connection has amplified the collaboration into something that's become deeper, that's become even more intentional. I think we're excited also that this was a result that we were able to have with the times that we're in. The next year, if we're able to do this show, like it's going to be, I think, 10 times, I think, bigger and powerful than what we were anticipating it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think once you guys are able to do this live, I think it's going to be huge. And and it's interesting. I think because we were all separated because of COVID, it does require us to stop and think and have more conversations about these things that maybe aren't spoken out loud about collaboration. And if there's one thing I've noticed is that the hip hop community is all about collaboration, and everybody in the hip hop community, or everybody's working with each other and on each other's albums and helping produce and doing their videos and things like that. And the fact that the BSO, the Symphony Hall, is right near Northeastern and Roxbury and all those places. Berkeley's right down the street from the BSO. I mean, the fact that this hasn't happened sooner, it's such an opportunity to pull two different genres that you wouldn't think have a connection, but to pull them together. I mean, I went and I listened to With Me, the original version, just to be, I'm like, oh, well, I wonder what the original version is like. And I had heard the original version ages ago when I listened to, when I talked to Mo on his episode. You're basically using electronic, sampling and keyboards to mimic what Rachel, what you and your musicians did. And I love having full orchestra or, even portions of orchestra join a musician that wouldn't normally have an orchestra with them. So having those the two genres collide is great. Now, Tim, I know that you've mentioned this, and I think also Thomas Wilkins mentioned this as well. It's all about removing labels too. Labels tend to make things easy for people people like things in their little pockets, for music, and it just kind of helps them organize things in their head. But what makes it all exciting is removing all those labels and saying it's just all music. That's what it is. There's no question there. I'm just kind of pontificating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this art form, or the arts in general and music as a part of that is a universal community in this really cool way that we might not be able to speak the same languages, but we can through music, through our instruments, through our voice, through our writing, through our composition, through the creative process. Those things, there's similarities across communities, across genres, across identities that we can connect into and find a common ground to explore. Like it's just exploration. Like that's what we're doing. We're exploring this new relationship with these new musicians in these unique art forms that have connections. Like it's there for sure.
Rachel, do you have any connection either through listening yourself or through other musicians that to the hip hop community? Or did you before this happened?
Not much. I mean, I think I talked to Tim about this summer. Like, I think, hip hop, like whatever you would come across like broadly, I never went deep dive down down that hip hop lane. I'm very cool, and I think you can tell that. And so I have a variety of musical tastes, but that wasn't one of them. And I remember actually running into Moe like CVS and early on, like, Moe, like, just tell me like, what early hip hop, like, give me a playlist, give me what to listen to. And he like sent me like all the albums that influenced him like when he was younger, and it was some amazing, like, it's, you know, top 20 albums, you know, just to like get an idea of like how does somebody's taste develop. It was really cool. So I didn't have that, but there, you know, there are a lot of orchestra musicians who actually like, are very into hip hop. It's not an either or proposition. And I think that that's kind of the moment in our culture now. It's like much more acceptable to be like omnivorous and have a lot of different kinds of taste in terms of the music that you like. And like, there doesn't have to be a silo between classical music and like everything else, which it seems like there has been for a while.
Which is surprising because, you know, hip hop is the biggest genre of music in the world right now. I mean, it's there's no doubting it. The great thing about it is the surprise and the discovery of great hip hop. When I mentioned how the BSO, how Symphony Hall and Berkeley are right next to each other, Wally's is right down the street from it as well. You know, it's one of those hidden gems that you know, if you're a musician, you know where it is, but not necessarily if you're not into the music scene in Boston, you may not know where Wally's is or what it is. But you know, that's a fantastic venue as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of people I know go there, and they just go there to hear new music, and that's amazing. But I digress. So let's talk about With Me. How did that song become the song?
Well, one, we work with a musician and a deep friend of ours, Chris Claxton, who is very much a part of our creative process. He's a trumpet player, composer, piano player, amazing. So we use classical art and classical music, the instrumentation and the influence already in our work. So I think the opportunities to collab was like, oh wow, this is like the next level of what we already do, and that felt really exciting. The conversation about hip hop, even kind of speaking to what you were naming, Chuck, how like some people have to kind of be convinced that it's an okay art form, or like that you're actually gonna like it if you give them the right playlist, or you play the songs that might give them a doorway into it. And it's because hip hop isn't much different than jazz, than blues, than any of these art forms that are considered maybe a little more acceptable within our society. So I think the song speaks to like, yo, hip hop, you know, you can't love hip hop without loving the person, without loving the people, without loving the voice that it's coming from. So are you with me or not? Like, we are in a time right now where Black people are more visibly being killed and murdered in a time where technology, access to social media, cell phone footage, and so forth is amplifying things that have been happening for generations. Like, this is the stuff that's happening isn't new. So I think this was a perfect opportunity to leverage the power and the position of the BSO, of the classical art form in itself, to embed this message and amplify the message. Like, yo, you have to be with all of me. Like, all of this, it comes with like loving and accepting and protecting and remembering that we are human and we are people. And this music, what we talk about is very real. The things that we reflect within the lyrics in terms of what's happening in our neighborhoods, what's happening to people that look like us, these things are very real. And you can't love this art form without loving us. Like, we gotta call you out on it, and we need you to recognize that. So I think it was the perfect song for us to also leverage this opportunity and the platform that BSO has and the Symphony Orchestra brings to use that to amplify that message, for sure.
Was the social implication there, the social justice implication there, part of the conversation?
Yes, very much. Like, huge shout out to Leslie. Leslie and Beth were our partners in the development and the design of this collaboration. Leslie has been with the BSO for quite some time and has been working to create these conversations and this dialogue. Before we started to work with her in this collaboration, so it was very much at a center in the conversation, and it's been welcomed. Like I think that it's been a growing process with. Much like any kind of collaboration, you take time to get to know one another and kind of really get a feel for who one another's are, and then like what are we bringing to the table together. And I felt like Leslie has been very much in our corner and kind of at the helm of continuing to find opportunities to create those conversations within the BSO organization at large.
And I'm sorry, Leslie, who?
Foley.
Cool. Rachel, when the song was brought to you, what was the sequence of events? Like, was it how do we fit into the song, or was it what can we bring to the song, or what was the approach?
I should clarify that I'm a little green with envy. I didn't actually get to play that particular song. Yeah. I did have a hand in putting together one of our amazing bass players, who's also a composer and orchestrator, Larry Wolf. He worked with Chris to help make sure that the arrangements kind of spoke our language in a way that people could actually like play it through and have no problem collaborating. Because that's the other thing that is tricky is that we, for the most part, we like everything written out, very clarified, like exactly what you want. If you put it on the page, we'll play it. No problem. Mm-hmm. If it's not on the page, sometimes it makes people a little nervous. So I helped kind of put those two together. But I'm going to put that out in the universe. Like, I would love some horn parts written. I think I do a good job, Tim.
Word.
Well, Rachel, you are, which astounded me, you were the first female member of the Boston Symphony brass section.
Yep.
That is, I can't believe that you're the first, but congratulations. I'm glad that happened. And you obviously won't be the last. And I think that's fantastic. Classical music has its rock side, social justice side as well. I mean, it was the only music, it was the music that was recorded and, before blues and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's been around for a long, long, long time. But, it does have its edgy side, just using different instruments.
It's one of those things that like once it becomes part of the canon and like something you hear all the time and it's like seems normal, it loses that revolutionary edge, right? And then that's just something you read in the cliff notes or the program notes, right? Like Stravinsky's Rite of Spring was very famously like caused riots in the street just for what it was. Like the content and the execution of that material made people like bananas. And people talk about, Shostakovich, like, would, like, hide messages in his music that was supposed to go against the propaganda he was supposed to be writing. He was tasked with writing. And now, if you didn't know the history, it would just seem totally, not innocent. Like, you could hear the emotion in it, but you wouldn't necessarily know. I idea that, like, classical music isn't cutting edge is both true and also just an unfortunate thing that our art form is a little bit older, and we're constantly tasked with like recreating that same piece over and over and over again because people like to hear it. And it's it's a wonderful thing. It's a reflection of like a great history, but it also kind of leaves us with less room to grow in certain ways. So I think that's part of the thing that I think that was so appealing about working with these artists is that it's like of the moment and they are able to like reflect on what's happening in the world in a way that's accessible to a lot of people, and it's really interesting and fresh and what you want to be doing as an artist. There's not a lot of ways that I have that kind of voice in my regular like pre-COVID day-to-day life as an artist. I was looking forward to that.
Well, it's interesting, you're both horn players, right? So that's cool. I don't think have I had a horn player on yet? We had Una Yonatite, Una, Rachel.
Yeah,
we've had her on. Yeah, and I love that part in the song where it gets really jazzy and you get the trumpet player going off on that. Oh, it's so freaking
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's
I love it.
Chris. That's Chris Claxton. The trumpet player who's doing the solo is also the composer of the music.
One other question about the actual song. So everyone recorded it in their own home. They all recorded their own piece, and then it was brought together. The actual performance that you see in the video is the performance on the piece, right?
Yep.
Oh, so that's fantastic. And you all played it at the same time, or was it all kind of done separately?
So everyone, with Still Gold, we play a lot of our live performances. We heavily use tracks
Right.
as a part of our just general setup. So Arc just created a general track that would align with the written music that Chris had written. So Chris, composed all the music, sent it out to folks to play along to the track. And then we just made sure that people could, audio record and then video record themselves. And then Arc put together the video and aligned everything.
That's great.
I didn't know you guys did that for your live shows.
Yeah, a lot of so heavily, because it's a 5-piece, Mo, Chris, and on the mic, and then myself, Arc, and then John on drums. So a lot of our music is like backing track with the live instrumentation as well.
You guys are built for this kind of.
And I think that was the other fun part that working with the orchestra musicians on was being able to also invite them into what our live performance setup feels like in a unique way, and how that also mirrors very much a norm within live music on our hip hop R&B side of things, where that's a heavily used setup to use tracks and incorporate technology and so forth within the live setup.
Rachel, so are you using this as an opportunity to get this to kids or teenagers? Like, is the BSO pushing this out to schools or to some sort of?
I haven't heard what they're doing with that. I know that they're working on what we can give to Boston Public Schools now. I know that they got it all out onto their various social media channels and kind of putting it out that way, but I haven't heard if it's going to go out to schools.
I mean, I just think I think it would be a great opportunity for kids who are into hip hop to see what classical music can do, and vice versa for anybody who's not into hip hop. So
they had talked about when we were going to do the big live collaboration of like getting kids who were interested in that to like actually like observe and see what's going on and like be able to talk to people. And I think that people were going to go into schools to talk about like the process and like how it worked. But again, that was all kind of based on live interaction.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that happens soon, the live interaction. What's the next step? Is there another song coming out? Are you going to bring in other hip hop artists as well? Is it just a Still Gold thing? Or and Rachel, are you pulling in other organizations as well, or what?
As far as I know, there's no plan to do more organizations at the moment. I'm sure you can imagine our staff has gotten pretty decimated with the current environment. So I think a lot of the things that had been planned have been paused. My wish is that if we can do more of this kind of thing, this virtual stuff, like I know it's a burden on people's time to like do it, but I think it's worth it. So that's my dearest wish, that we can do more specifically with these guys. Like, I think that there's no reason in stopping now.
I think that there's definitely a desire to do more. We don't have anything lined up ready to go or to share or promote or anything like that. But the conversation is there to have in terms of how do we continue this momentum as we go into the new year. See what the landscape is with COVID and how that's going to impact the entertainment world and live performance space and so forth. But very much, I think that the BSO and as well as Still Go, we're both interested in exploring the conversation and continuing this momentum for sure.
Well, I think you should now reverse it. Rachel, you need to come up with a classical piece Bo and Tim, and that they need to throw some rhymes at it and make this piece that was written for some sort of social reason or political whatever it was, and pull them together, and so people can get a new piece of classical music that they maybe didn't realize the story was, and we can put words to it.
I love it, Chuck.
I want royalties for that.
Like, raise up the proletariat, right?
Right. If I don't use the word proletariat at least once a day, then it's a lost day.
Out, right?
Well, thank you for both for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I know it was kind of last minute, but I wanted to talk to somebody about this before the holidays. I appreciate your time, and I wish you both a very happy Turkey Day.
You too.
Yeah, and stay healthy.
Yes. Thanks, Chuck, and good to see you, Rachel.
Yeah, you too, Tim.
We would like to thank Rachel and Tim for talking to us, and we'd also like to thank Matthew Erickson at the BSO for helping set up the conversation. In addition, we'd like to thank the members of the BSO and Still Gold for all their musical hard work. For more information on the project, go to stillgold.bso.org. That's stlgld.bso.org. To learn more about Still Gold, go to stillgold.com, stlgld.com. Tim also has another project among his many called Hip Story that you can learn about at hipstory.org. And a simple Google of Rachel Childers will bring you more information on her great work at the BSO and the New England Conservatory. And of course, you can learn all about the Boston Symphony Orchestra at bso.org. Go to abovethebasement.com where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen and subscribe to our podcast, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and look at all the nice pictures we post on Instagram. We are everywhere. From all of us at Above the Basement, thank you for listening. Tell your friends, wear masks for God's sakes. And remember, Boston music, like its history, is unique.